It's 4:01. Can I ask everyone to mute their microphones? Obviously, it's over here online. Officer guests, I'm not sure the cameras are on. Okay. Can I please ask Democratic Services to begin recording? Sorted. Pnawn da, croeso I cyfarfod, diolch am bawb am dod. Good afternoon, welcome to Regeneration, Public Protection and Housing meeting on Tuesday, 7th of March 2023. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and may be broadcast via the authority's internet site. The images and sound recording may also be used for training purposes within the authority. Agenda item 1, apologies for absence.
Yes, Chair, Councillor Anna Williams-Price and Hilary Hopkins are co-opting right there.
I've also had apologies from Chris Long as well. Item agenda 2, declarations of interest. I have a declaration. I also work for the Tidwell Leisure Trust that received CRF funding and SPF funding. Moving on, item agenda 3, UK Shared Prosperity Levelling Up Fund to consider a report from the Deputy Chief Executive. I'd like to ask Alan to present.
Okay, thanks. I'd be handing over to Ryan as the lead officer to go through the report. But just a couple of points before I do hand over. Obviously, we brought the report probably first 18 months ago about the end of the European funding programme, and at the time we listed, I think in the report that the committee considered, we listed all the funding from the European Social Fund, ESF, and the European Regional Development Fund, ERDF, that the council had been accessing and we were accessing. We also did a separate exercise to identify all the European funding that was being used by external partner organisations that was being actually delivered and services delivered to the residents in particular. So this really is a progression from those reports. At the time, it was quite apocalyptic. The sheer amount of service provision and finance that not just the county borough, but South Wales, Wales and the UK were going to lose. So obviously the funds that Ryan is going to go through was the UK's government's response to actually bringing funding to replace the European allocations. Now, everyone in this room has probably seen all the commentary both locally, nationally, Wales and throughout Britain about the fact that the replacement of European funding from UK government wasn't anywhere near the quantum that the European Union actually allocated. And what was different as well is that the UK government chose a system of allocation and administration which bypassed Welsh government. So the allocation of each of the local authority and regions has come straight from central government. So I will probably touch upon it in the report. But each region, and the region being South East Wales, the 10 South East Wales local authorities, were asked to submit a proposal, and then that proposal, each authority had an indicative allocation. Now the time period for us actually put in a plan both regionally and locally in place was stupid. And not only was it stupid, but Lee made reference to the Community Renewal Fund, which was the precursor of this funding. But we were all in Wales asked to put proposals together at the time when we were still running and trying to close down the Community Renewal Fund. So, I mean, some members around the table were involved in both those processes, and the sheer effort we had to put in the short space of time wasn't ideal. UK government changed deadline dates, which made it very, very difficult. I stop there, and the report in front of you is quite high level, because the sheer amount of information. But I think it's a good starting point to get the structure of the funds. But obviously, any discussion or requests for information of the detail we have, and we're also happy to bring any subsequent reports or provide any additional information about the details. But really, this is a starting point for us because it's all new to everyone. Guidance is poor, the guidance is unclear. We still haven't had our offer letter. We only just had our terms and conditions through the authority RCT. All under control, but very breakneck. Okay, right?
Yeah, happy. Yeah, thanks, Al. Pretty much covered everything pretty much within the report, but I'll just quickly go over a couple of key points that the report goes into. So obviously references previous reports that we've done over the last 2 years, I'm guessing, in terms of the Brexit referendum, philosophy, structural funds, and obviously the CRF program as it is was, and obviously the 11 Up program, more importantly, around the SPF, the Share Prosperity Fund. So it goes into a little bit more detail in terms of the 1.9 million that we had for Community Renewal Fund and the projects we funded there, and it closed down that project. We also touch upon where we are now in terms of the Level Up Capital Grant and the application we made for that. Also the Community Ownership Fund gives a little bit of information on Multiply, which is an ancillary program linked to Share Prosperity Fund. Importantly, the main focus of the report is on the Share Prosperity Fund and the £23 million allocation that the council has got in the grand scheme of South East Wales, where the 10 local authorities collectively have had £270 million. So we're at that £23 million of that. It breaks down the kind of interventions of the 53 interventions, or touches on them in terms of what they look at and the focus. And also then we give a kind of outline of the kind of 8 priority areas that we focused our £23 million on. Just touches upon the kind of things that we're looking at, so what the priorities are of the council. And that's pretty much it. Happy to take questions or listen to comments, etc.
I just had a couple of things about not constraints, but the structure of the fund. Although the fund is very broad and it's delivered under 3 main headings, as you see in the report, and obviously everything that's delivered has got to relate back to the eligible outcomes. So that's from jobs to actual community spending. The way it was structured was quite odd because it was the UK government prescribed how much percentage of the allocation could be spent in 1 year. So normally with these grant programs, especially ones we delivered in the past, year 1 starts with a big application, and it sort of filters down towards the back end of the program. For some reason, the way the UK government had constructed this is the other way around. It ramps up. So it was a three-year program, and we're already about to start year 2 because of the late decisions we had of UK government. Plus, obviously, we incurred very little spend apart from the run-on of some of the CRF projects. So it starts off last year with a small allocation, then the allocation ramps up. But in the last year, which is year 3, that's the majority of the spend, which is quite debilitating, really, because to try and get rid of all your money in the last year, you're ramping the program up, and in reality, you're ramping it down.
Sorry, before I open up the questions, I just come in on that point. I guess in the reprofiling now, because we're starting late, makes those 2 years probably a little bit more equal for some of the projects. I guess, like, say, the one I'm involved in, you retrospecting funding some of the project. I guess some of those that would have started last year. I guess some of the posts.
Only the central team, because outside the CRF, everyone's still started.
Oh, right, okay. Okay, thank you. Right, I'd like to open up for questions.
Sorry, I said
Sorry, that's right.
When I said about the other organisations delivering European programs in the county borough. A chunk of this funding goes towards keeping the programs going. So you've got all the employability stuff in Merthyr College, you've got organisations like MTIB with the disability training programs. These funds are also there to obviously continue their services.
Well, I know Anna, Councillor Williams-Price is not here today, but she did ask me to ask one question regarding what you just said, is like all the third sector organisations that received EU funded, funding directly, will you be supporting them? And, are they identified and will they continue supporting? Not meaning financially, but any support going forward? I guess, is there others outside of MTIB as well?
What we've got to do, because it's possible to each organisation in the body of another application. And Brian can expand on this. We've got large amounts of money specifically against voluntary sector grant support. If we will be able to access that way.
Okay, thanks.
How much money?
Yeah, so within the social enterprise grant, it's just under £1 million, which will be allocated to social enterprises, community groups, etc. But it's obviously profiled in year 2 and year 3. So it's quite a large proportion of money. I think it's about 667,000 from the top of my head in year 3. So we've got about 200 grand in year 2. So yeah, there will be grant schemes to support social enterprises. Some of them receive ESF or ERDF funding, but also ones that haven't as well. So
that was one of my questions. And is that revenue and capital?
Yeah, it's a mix of revenue and capital, just primarily capital, which is a bit of a. It is what it is, but yeah, it's predominantly capital, and it's the same for the private sector, etc. as well. We got about £1 million of capital grant as well. So yeah.
Because obviously what we have the ability to do, we've got this voluntary sector support built into this program, but will be aligned as well to our existing SETS program, which has been very, very successful at funding third sector organisations.
Sure.
Right. First things first, as you mentioned, this community fund. Are voluntary bodies able to apply for grants to that fund?
Yes.
And when will that start? And are there limitations as to what they can apply for?
So meeting as a team in the region to design all our grant schemes. So what the plan is hopefully early in the next financial year, probably May, June time, we'll press go on all the grants that we will fund. So private sector ones, the social enterprise ones, decarb, there'll be opportunities there. So what we want to do is make sure they can form together. So you have the same similar kind of application, similar kind of guidance. We would have had the terms and conditions from UK government with intervention rates to see what's palatable for those people. So what we'll do is press go. It'll support all kind of social enterprises, community groups, voluntary organisations, as long as they're constituted and they've got the relative bank account, etc. Thematically, we will help support. So from a social economy perspective, we'll want to fund types of organisations, but also types of projects as well. So we sit this within our kind of within the council's kind of process in terms of just designing out what these grant schemes look like. It'll be the same for the private sector and decarbonisation. We've got small events grant that potentially we will run as well. So yeah, it's all within our options really.
So sometime in April or May. And what's the maximum amount that they can apply for?
We haven't designed that out yet because we still haven't had terms and conditions from the UK government. So that's where we'll start understanding what the intervention rates will be.
And are you hopeful that our illustrious friends in Whitehall can send you the terms and conditions?
Yeah.
In reasonable time?
We are hopeful, yeah.
Because this whole business, since it was announced, has brought, as Alan explained, the ridiculous delays.
Yeah, it's really frustrating for our end because obviously we would like to go everything designed out. We got we've had conversations internally within the department in terms of what these designs, what these grants look like. But until we get those terms and conditions, we can't really depict what the intervention rates are. Naturally, we want to have high intervention rates so we can support a wide range of organisations and private sector businesses. So
RCT are rolling out.
they've taken a hit there.
Yeah. But you know, they GRB for all the region, aren't they? So it's a little bit different for them, I guess.
So will this be the subject of a report to council when you've got everything, all the T's crossed?
Yeah,
dots, etc.
If that's one of the actions from today's meeting, we're more than happy to produce another report outlining this.
I just think that the rest of the council members should be aware
I agree.
of everything,
Couple of
what's available.
Yeah, couple of things up there. Just on about difficulties today, and one of the big difficulties we've had is to design programs without the full information from the UK government and without full guidance. You know, we yet to see the terms and conditions, which is going to have a direct influence on what we construct. Now, the beauty, I think, is we've got a lot of experience now of delivering grant schemes through the local authority. You know, we were the regional lead for the social enterprise grant across the Valley authorities. We had numerous successful schemes, so we know what works. So hopefully, what we'll be able to do. It's not from scratch.
Can I ask on the report on page 9, top of the page, you refer to 2.75 billion of the allocation being spent in 22-23. So we're in March now, near the end of the financial year. And it goes on to say in there that because of delays, we're talking about late December when this plan should start. So have we spent any of that money? Is that 2.3 million going to be spent before the 31st of
Very
March?
little time. So what happened? We had to go ahead. The funds were available, but we had to go ahead after the start date because technically it started April last year. So when we had to go ahead, we'd already lost most of the year. So we have incurred some spend. We had to put in place the team to develop the grant itself. So Ian and Joe and 2 other members of staff have been part of the team. But as Lee said, what UK government allowed local authorities to do was to spend at risk. So RCT have gone ahead and they're ploughing ahead at risk, putting out various schemes. I think that's a little bit too risky personally, because you could have some sort of terms and conditions of grant, and RCT might be able to shoulder a couple of million quid going back, but that's too risky for us.
And in terms of predicted spend in year 1, we've got it predicted about £1 million spend in year 1, so we can carry over 1.7 million into year 2.
Right.
As well, up to that 2.7 million.
So how much of that 2.75 is gone?
We're predicting £1 million spend
By the 31st of
by
March.
the end of March. Yeah.
And you carry over 1.7.
Yeah.
They came back and asked for reprofiling figures, didn't they?
Yeah.
So that was one of my questions, is that have they given a go ahead on the reprofiling?
We're currently working on the reprofile now. The deadline's this Friday. We've got to get that into RCT. RCT going to collect it all, send it into UK government by the 17th.
But the fact we got a reprofile from year 1 into year 2 without knowing the total shape of the program is bonkers.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the core team as the program manager, finance and senior project manager, monitor officer, and project officer.
Yeah.
They're all in situ, are they?
Yes.
Right. So until you're waiting for everything, could be asking the question, but I don't know how long they've been there. What are they currently doing?
Are they still working with internal departments, external stakeholders,
Right.
gathering outputs, project managing, interaction with RCT Council, yeah, reprofiling as we keep talking about. So it's a lot of work to do. It's not just sitting down.
Ian is our finance manager.
Right.
Ian previously worked with the authority, he left and came back to work on this program. So we've devised this from scratch.
Right.
So the team have worked with each of the local authority departments on potential eligible spend and activity. They've worked with the existing CRF projects to close CRF down and bring them into SPF, and also work with external organisations to agree and cost the potential programs, people like the college, etc. So it's been quite a big piece of work, and we're really fortunate that we had 2 members of staff come back who had a lot of previous experience, because if we'd hit the ground running cold with this, we'd never have done it.
Okay, can you ask 2 other questions?
Yeah.
It's on page a bit lower down, and it refers to business support. There's 4.5 million allocated there. How will this money be allocated? Will each business be able to apply to that?
Yeah, so predominantly the 4.5 million is made up of those kind of grant schemes, but it's also interventions that will support business startups and social enterprise, etc. So the staffing within that as well. So, you know, it's a good 2.5, probably 3 million in terms of grant schemes that will be available across different kind of sectors. And then we've got services then on people. So, you know, within the social enterprise team, we'll have a social enterprise manager and a support officer to support community groups, voluntary organisations, etc., and to manage those grants. And it's the same within the private sector as well.
So when you get the terms and conditions, that can start then virtually immediately?
Yeah, we're looking at recruitment at the moment and job evaluations to get posts advertised as soon as we can. So certain ones are ahead of others. Yeah, in terms of the terms and conditions, the final terms and conditions, it's all around subsidy control. So this is where we can set our intervention rates. So as soon as we get all that information, we can start knowing what these grant schemes look like, get the people on board, and we start supporting over the next 2 years really.
When you say recruitment, the people that recruited just dealing with business support, is it?
Yeah, business support, there'll be a team around social enterprise support, there'll be an officer in terms of decarbonisation, for instance. So
Right.
there's a couple of opportunities there.
Right. Okay. And the other question is underneath that town centre enhancement, there's 3 million allocated there. It says to facilitate the development of a town centre hub. Perhaps you can explain that to me exactly what you mean. Public realm enhancements, a community gardens project, and additional grant support interventions. It's just, could you elaborate exactly what that will entail?
Yeah. Okay, if I start with the community open scheme, obviously ASB in the town centre, and together with the cleanliness town centre has been big public issues for quite some time. Around that general placemaking principle, we've secured money that will be spent through community safety for Nemesis Department to employ 6 town centre community safety wardens. So they'll be in the town centre working with the police on that with antisocial behaviour and enforcement, civil enforcement. We've also got resources which will go to Barnet for a dedicated town centre street scene team of another 5 members of staff. So you've got quite a big concentration of grant-funded staff specifically within the town centre. I suppose the rationale is it's only a little town centre in reality. You know, once you've actually got on top of both the cleanliness and the antisocial behaviour, which we're looking at alternative policing model for with the police. Once you get on top of that, then we've got the opportunity to sort of spread that team more around the county borough in specific hotspots. So the town centre hub We ran a very successful pilot with housing and social services in that little regeneration shop you got in with Chief Lane, all around homelessness prevention.
Yeah.
So we working really closely with children's services as well from a prevention perspective. So again, taking that principle of the success we had of delivering prevention, but not from the town centre, this project will be taking a shop, the old Pep and Go in the town centre, and creating a multidisciplinary drop-in centre. So you've got housing and homelessness, you've got social services and family support, and you've got employability services all in one place, which is in the civic sector, which has a drop-in and signposting facility, plus also funding the rent of an empty property in St. Tidwell's.
So community wardens, you say they have enforcement powers,
Civil.
civil enforcement. Give me an example of what they, somebody, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody is seen deliberately dropping litter and there's a litter bin 2 feet away. Is that something that they will approaching public about?
That is correct, and we'll be looking at any additional PSPOs we have to put in place to make sure that they've got those powers.
So they'll be working very closely, for example, with the PCSOs who are out and about
And the police,
and
because
daily.
what Paul Lewis has been able to do, we got a really good relationship now with the town centre team, with the town centre policing team, and the model is going to be based on weekly joint tasking. So you'll have the PSPOs, you'll have the police together with obviously our team, actually looking at what the work program is going to be for that week based on intelligence.
So they'll be based somewhere in the town centre, these
Hopefully the bus station.
is there, I hate to ask this question, but I will ask it, because it was promised that there would be a police presence in the bus station, but that never came to fruition. Is there a possibility that police can team up with these community wardens
That's
and
what,
be in the same building?
that's what we're working with.
Great. Great.
And an awful lot of questions in one go there comes in.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's all right, no problem. Is the space in the bus station? Is there an office space for them to work on?
It's the office. We want to create a joint space for our staff and police staff.
Did you want to come back in there?
I look forward to seeing that, because I got really excited as a chairman of planning that they were going to have a police presence at the police station when it was came before us, and it never happened.
Yeah.
And you get members of the public asking about that all the time.
I've seen a lot of police visibility in the town centre lately, which is really pleasing to see the last especially the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
A relationship, an operational relationship is really sort of improved the last couple of months.
Well, it's great.
So, sorry, but I was clarifying when these community ones, obviously, they won't be picking up later, will they? In the town centre?
Well, you've got the street scene team separate. Yeah, so we've got two teams. You've got your town centre wardens, and you've got a cleaning team.
Yeah. They'll be part of the money will be paid from
a single team.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Al. That's great.
How are getting really excited to talk about all these grants that you're in.
I think I got past them. I would grant so in the past hours.
Just a supplementary, Alan, if you don't mind, coming in off what Clive's been talking about on the community wardens, and you mentioned that the town centre is pretty small. When the town centre is cleared up, as it will, and no doubt at some stage, can they move outside of the town centre then?
That's what we were going to expand the model. Yeah.
Throughout the borough? Yeah.
Thank you, Alan.
I'm guessing if it, like you said earlier, the hotspot, if something becomes an issue in terms of ASB, they had what it can, I guess they could, move out for a short period of time.
Yeah, if we get the town centre model right, then it's going to be easy to lift and shift for any period. But it's getting it right, and it's that interaction, interaction with the new type of civil enforcement that's the police, and the ability to come in and physically clear it.
Is it, sorry,
Sorry.
boundaries in terms of the town centre, that was the geographical area. I don't know if you've got.
We tried to stay away from.
Yeah, I can try and answer this one easier. So in essence, we've got two tiny towns teams, one focused on town centre, the other with county borough. And it's a big, it's a large area to cover, but they can be kind of reactive to go out to certain hotspots outside the town centre as well. So Rob Barnett has got two kind of tiny towns teams, one focused town centre, one outside.
It's the wardens how far out this town centre.
Yeah, the more easier.
Is like, does it go to the old hospital, or does it just go to top of more or less? Or, I'm not expecting you to answer that question now, but I just give it some consideration for us to know going forward.
We've been very fluid about boundaries.
Okay, right, brilliant. Okay,
I just wondering, what was the issues with the police prior then to a couple of 2 months ago? What was the problems, perhaps?
It was visibility and engagement. Because, over the last couple of years, they've had their own issues with staffing, resources, etc.
I think one of the key issues in the town centre over the last 6 months has been these groups of young people. I don't really want to give them a forum to talk about, but it has come up in RCT where they travelled recently to a rugby match, and a dispersal order was placed on young people because of this group from Merthyr, the Young and Dangerous group. Yeah, it is needed in the town centre. I've seen it from my own eyes as well. So
The other thing with the town centre, and I mean, we've been in various forums. The police are all intelligence driven. So if people aren't reporting what they see, then there's no footprint for the police to respond because it's intelligence. We've got 100 calls of ASB in Merthyr town centre. They dig deep out, they're also going to move the resources into it. So the other beauty with having a team of eyes and ears out there, council staff, is obviously they're all be wearing body cams, etc. So if the public aren't reporting, they can report them.
Yes.
I think the issue we got with the reporting in the police line is the 101 system, I could be honest with you.
I really
We've had that in meetings, have we, as well,
obviously the scrutiny, didn't we?
Yeah.
Not that long ago. And I suppose it's different if you've got a member of staff, because they've got a couple of different channels that they can report. And we discussed emailing them, text facility, as well as a phone facility. It's different if it's your job, not just a member of the public, to make sure you make that report through one of the channels.
Yeah, the only thing is, if there's something going on in town, ASB in town, people just pick their phone up 101 straight away, time they get home and everything's dispersed and gone.
Exactly, yeah.
That's the problem, isn't it, You've got to sort of nip it in the bud straight away. I've had it numerous times in town, as I said before,
I think we need to get the comms out there of how they can report. Like I've shared it on after we had the scrutiny workshop, I've shared it on my social media, but it's just keep churning that out. You haven't got to ring 101, you can email it in and you can do it straight away. I think people just see it as 101 and they're not reporting it, and that's a big issue. So, okay.
Going back to boundaries, I would argue that boundary of town centre starts with the old general hospital and up to the Brecon Road. You can't get much closer to the town centre. I'm just making an argument, and then that when they start, they can walk a bit further past.
In my head, that is where the boundary would be, to be honest. Yeah.
Until you and Thomas don't.
Not as high as that.
Okay, well, answer to it.
Right, let's really back it. Right, anybody else kind of question?
Yeah, I got one.
Yeah, John. go on.
Yeah, it's on page 9, under 5.9, third one down, community schools. We've got 3.15 million there. It says staff resource to enable the development of a community focused schools and community hub programs situated across the county borough. Will any of this money be put into like having caretakers working later so we could use the schools for like, I don't know, a gymnastic club or a martial arts club? Because we've got nothing around the borough at the moment where we can get these sort of clubs into. Would anything like that be used for the schools?
Communities, I mean, I think there are a couple of reports from Sue about community focused schools. So at the moment, Merthyr is one of, it's either 2 or 3 local authorities in Wales participating in Welsh Government pilot of community schools. So currently we're looking at the northern cluster. So that's Penedre, Bishop Edley and the feeder schools. In developing a community focused school model whereby the school becomes the focus of the community and the right resources, non-educational, are wrapped around the school to deliver educational family support. Now, we have the one pilot currently, but what Sue and the Education Department, because it's a huge Welsh Government priority, as well as a council priority, use this programme to extend that to the 3 clusters, so it'll replicate and roll out the community focused school in the mid and the lower valley. Now, there'll be community focused school coordinators based in the school. This is the difference. The school got to sign up and own this project, and that person will help develop, with our help, obviously with grants and with resources, the type of activities which currently don't exist, but focused around the school using community resources. So, as you said, John, potentially the ability for extra resources to open the school up, to work with voluntary organisations that they can deliver their services to the children, the families, the same as social services running around to give additional assistance. Very similar to what's happening in Godwin now with children's services, heavily involved in the last 18 months in some of the issues out there. So yes, basically, and it's quite a big model.
Sorry.
What we gotta make sure, Mike, is it's all integrated, that the schools don't sort of run off with it. It's gotta be integrated in the mainstream.
That's right. I don't know our school up in Toyne, he's eager, so the club's using it. Alex up in Toyne, he's a real good headmaster, and he wants people to come in the evenings. He said even on weekends if it can be funded, and they could use the hall, like,
And
which is good.
hopefully this community focused school model is gonna assist people like Alex in realising their ambitions.
Yeah.
The model in the North Cluster, the schools put actual money into it from their own budget. So I think it was 50% Welsh Government funded and the schools funded the rest of it. And like Lisa, who used to work with me, she's the manager and she'd be really good at that role. But the only concern I have, you mentioned about being based in the school. My personal opinion, I'd like to see it based more in communities rather than a school, because some people don't like going to school, but it's like whole hand holding and in the community, and I see the dual of the community as part of it, not just the school. And the school is the hub maybe, and then so do you want to come back in?
No, fine.
The one question I had, or I've discussed this with Sue, obviously this is a model, I did it 3 whatever million. She said that was for the other clusters. I just want to clarify, this is for all the clusters, this money. Yeah. Yeah, it didn't seem to come across like that at the beginning, to be honest.
Because at the moment, the Welsh Government funding is limited to supporting the the reason was that there's no other sort of development money in it. So you,
And the other thing is that it will all have to be done in conjunction with the governing bodies, because there may be local organisations that would want to use the school during school time. Well, that comes with all its problems of security and safeguarding, etc. So it seems to me, if they're going to be focused entirely on the school, we're talking about in the evening and the weekend.
Yeah, if it's possibly like a relief caretaker that, you know, could work, it is a big task for, is that what you're referring to?
Well, they'd have to work,
Insurance.
yes, I mean, if it's in the evening, they'll have to work in conjunction with the school, because the school may have various after-school activities, etc., and in conjunction with the existing caretaker. So the existing caretaker, you know, maybe, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, be able to tap into being paid out of this with hours doing whatever caretaker needs to do. You know, outside what he's contracted to do with the school.
I think there's a lot to iron out in terms of insurances and everything, with groups and DBSs coming into schools and all of those things. I welcome community focused schools, like as a community worker before, you know, this isn't new to Merthyr. This is 10 years or more ago, there was a community focused schools team. Whether it won't be as big as this one, but it can work. And well, my biggest worry is not so much a governing body, but yeah, stroke governing body, stroke headmaster. If they don't want it, there's I've had it where there's one headmaster, mistress or master loves to see these community, and then there's other schools that are like, no, sorry, we'll put everything stand in your way to come in there. So that's a concern. I'm not expecting to answer that, but it is a concern.
what is it? It's got to be, the success of this is going to be based on the ownership of the governing bodies and the schools. And I suppose for the head and the governing body to see the benefit. Just a comment, obviously on page 9, on 5.5.9, some of these project headings just sort of capture some local authority stuff which are put in, and these are based on the corporate priorities and the corporate plans. That's why they're in there. But as a scrutiny, and this is just what the council is getting funded to deliver from SPF. You could probably spend a session on each of those headings, and that's without getting into all the other delivery outside the council. So perhaps this needs to be an ongoing program, Chair.
Yeah, I was going to say about, I did mention to Chris before about maybe having a workshop, because like I've seen maybe the spreadsheet that Brian was submitting on this, and it's fast, like you said, it's not something we're going to go through in one scrutiny meeting, but I think I welcome that we go through it.
Yeah. On the strategic tourism events, and there's 2.6 million there, does that include putting a tourism information centre?
No,
Clearly visible
no,
somewhere?
we got no plans for that at this point in time. This is to give us extra resources to put on events and specific grants as well for the tourism sector.
I think we discussed it last week, scrutiny meeting about tourism. Whether with the new hub, maybe you can have some tourist stand there potentially, going in reception, but maybe moving over to there. It is a bigger footfall there.
Yeah, I totally agree. Having a physical centre where you need additional staff, it's just not sustainable anymore. Most local authorities have closed their ears. Because this is only 2-year funding effect. We don't set anything up, especially something visible as a building and a tourist information centre. And if the money wasn't available the year after the program finishes, you have to close it. So we're just trying to be careful.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I understand. I might miss this through literature. What was the discrepancy between the European funding and what would have been coming in compared to what was offered, the 207 million? What was the difference?
60%.
More than that, yeah.
90 million.
Well, it's not exact figures, it's percentages more than anything, but we're a vast less amount. So we normally well.
North of England, calling foul, they don't get 35%.
Yeah.
In terms of Howard's question, will there be any redundancies between the program? Do you know, is it?
No.
It's good news. Or you did want to?
I just wanted, and there's no recourse of asking for any more whatsoever, with that discrepancy.
I mean, it's various representative bodies and the UK government opposition, calling foul this, the alliance, the Community Alliance, and massive pressure for the older industrial areas in Britain. There's a massive amount of lobbying, but I don't think it's making a difference.
Michelle will be at the meeting on Friday in Overton.
Thank you. I got a couple of questions. In terms of trigger, due to recent budget cuts, will SPF be propping up any of the services in terms of the cuts? Does that make sense?
Well, we haven't actually made many budget cuts of wages. It's mostly been corporate, but it will strengthen service delivery in some of our frontline areas.
.2 SPF leveling up community ownership and multiply program. Is there like a timetable of when all of those, obviously SPF is in now, leveling up? So yeah, there's another strand of that as well. What's it called as well?
So we're leveling up capital grant, so there will be a third round, which we will win for at some point.
Yeah.
In terms of community ownership fund, that's periodically launched every kind of 6 months. So that's one of the main projects. When we get the core team in now, they can get their heads, when we get all the terms and conditions and everything signed off, we can start having a deep dive in terms of the community ownership fund, because there will be some natural opportunities for voluntary organisations, community groups, etc., to explore that fund. But when we do that, when we get our social enterprise manager and our team in situ, then we'll definitely look at doing some stuff around that as well.
It was by the Red House, Andy.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yeah. No. Anyway, moving on quickly. I don't have any more questions. Does anybody else? No. Right. Anybody? Any comments?
Well, it's just as to how we going to be kept updated as this moves along. I think is the issue.
And that's really important because we've done this at breakneck speed, both regionally and locally, and chugging all these balls without guidance and information. One of the biggest, and my biggest fears is because we've had to do it based on external and internal, is making sure that we're still taking everyone with us, and obviously, you're the most important people in this, because we've invested such a big chunk of bringing the money into the council. So it's how we keep you informed, not just informed, how we report back on such a big agenda, because each of those lines, as we went through, they're big important projects. So perhaps we can have a separate session, Chair, to actually work out how you want that done.
Yeah, I think you guys need to have a think about it as well, how you think you could best present that, whether it be like a workshop on each I think that would probably be the best way, rather than
I
scrutiny.
think so.
Okay, maybe, we'll have as an action,
What might be good as well, all the external partners we find in, it'd be good to have, this is something which we're doing now. The external partners, we're gonna have an external partners steering group, because obviously they'll be responsible for feeding their outputs and information into us, because, we've been monitoring the program. It'd be good to get all those organizations collectively in a room, so that we can actually discuss how they're gonna deliver this for the council, because it's our allocation. More importantly, they're gonna make sure that they will get joined up.
There's a lot of money to keep tabs on, isn't it, over time, we need to do that. So Chair, is there going to be further discussions between yourself and the officers?
Yeah.
How they be conducted?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, any other comments? No, just like to thank you all for coming in and presenting today. It was like, I think I learned a little bit as well, so even though I'm pretty embedded in it as well, but thank you very much. You're welcome to stay or you're welcome to leave. Thanks, Rob. I'm sorry. Right. Moving on, agenda item 4, report recommendations. Did we address the recommendations in the report? Recommendation of the scrutiny members agree the items set out in the scrutiny for, sorry, I'm on the wrong one. I apologize, jumping ahead of myself, just to recommendations of the contents of this report, I discussed them. I think we did that.
Sure. Yeah.
Is everybody happy with
Yes.
with that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, moving on, scrutiny, item agenda 5, forward work program. Oh, Flummox been in, yeah? How's it going recording wise? All good? Forward work program, is, so today's meeting, 7th of March, was the redevelopment. We discussed this with the officers due to the sensitivity of this. We decided that it was probably best to move this further along into the next cycle, because it would probably be, they wouldn't be able to answer half the questions that we needed. The next meeting, 2nd of May, section on domestic violence. We had a meeting yesterday. Councillor Williams-Price came to it as well, because she expressed an interest in this report. We're waiting for Paul to come back. He's off at the moment, and we've got an idea on. It's such a big topic. We think we made some inroads on what we want to receive, and then possibly linking that into the nighttime economy as well. Myself and Neil are going to managers meeting with Regen on Thursday morning, where they're going to discuss the self-evaluation report, so we can see how they bring that together. And we're hoping to have a workshop as well on the self-evaluation prior to that meeting, so give us a better understanding. Has anybody got any comments or?
So will those 3 items definitely be on the agenda for the 2nd of May?
Yeah. Yeah, that is the plan, yeah. Self-evaluation definitely has to be on there. Yeah, as it is, they staying on there. Okay. Yeah, anybody else? No, okay, reflections, scrutiny referrals. No, nothing, any actions?
What were we on, sorry, feedback?
Yeah, feedback, item agenda 7.
Yeah, the only feedback, if you want to give it, was just because this is a first one since we had the crime disorder workshop.
Yeah.
Had some feedback from Paul,
Yeah.
and from Steve Jones, can't remember his position. Superintendent. They felt that, they said they felt it went well.
They found it useful as well, really useful, I think, so
Yeah.
they welcomed having those type of workshops regular.
Right.
Neil's in the process of setting up a meeting so we can go down and see the headquarters as well.
Right. Is that likely to be in the next few weeks?
Well, I'm waiting for Dean Thomas to get back to me just to confirm how to go ahead with it really, what be best for him, what dates, etc. And obviously I'll consult with you all then once I've had a bit more confirmation.
So that be sort of many less arranged for members of this committee to go down all together.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way. Yeah. See the passion on the planet. I think. Yes. We get electric one as well, Clive.
Yeah, right.
We have to charge it halfway or something like that. Yeah, so I think that's it from scrutiny referrals and feedback. So moving on, agenda item 8. Any others?
Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
Going back to the visit.
Yeah.
Will we have a 1 or 2 dates? You want a maximum of 10?
Yeah. We'll find out. We'll get a list of times and dates, and and during the days as well. So yeah, that'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? No.
Picture.
Yeah. No worries. Item 8. And any other business needed about the chair? I have nothing. So thank you very much for attending. I'd like to bring a meeting to a close. Thank you very much.